Sorcerers! Josh here, and today we got a new announcement. The store kits are coming. This store kit is a little bit different from the one that we had previously, and I have to say I question the composition and what it's really meant to do. Eric's Curiosa has been very clear that in terms of the competitive scene, they do not necessarily want to provide a tournament structure or anything like that. They would like for the community to continue to build that scene as they have been doing with the major events like the Spring Social, Courtesan Cup, Sorcery Con, that type of thing. So the composition of this kit, and for those of you that haven't seen it, you can go see it on the official Sorcery website. It consists of 4 two-player playmats, and each one has a different art, 3 copies of a new alternate art sorcerer, 1 copy of a new champion with new art by Vincent Pompetti, and 8 of the new draft kits. The new draft kits I like. I like that there's 8. I think that that's a very good number to ship out in a kit. Because in theory, 8 kits would support 32 players, as 1 kit is meant to support 4 players. Now I have to say, in actual practice, it doesn't quite work out too well because basically with one of those draft decks, you get 3 of each elemental site per player. And that's really not enough to build a deck with, even in a limited format. So there has to be a lot of swapping or, hey, my spires are actually wastelands when you're playing and that type of thing. But because there's 8, a store could in theory create a site bank and they keep all those sites at the store for limited events. Now, I would say that most stores are going to want 2 of these kits to get 16 of the draft kits. Or if they're able to buy just individual draft kits later, I think that that's a good number. I know that seems like a lot because 16 can support 64 players, but these things are going to be lost. People are going to forget to return their sites after the event. People are going to forget to return their spell slingers after the event and that type of thing. So I think 2 of these kits with 16 draft kits is good for a store and that they should try to retain those rather than handing them out, so that they can continue to do limited events. That being said, 1 kit, 8 draft packs, or 8 draft kits. How do we split up this prize support? And that's the thing I can't quite figure out. If you did one event, which I don't think is a good idea, but if you did one event, you'd have 4 playmats to give out. So I guess top 3 and maybe 1 at random, or the bottom person got 1. Then you'd have the 3 alternate art sorcerers, which I failed to mention is a piece of art by Frank Frazetta. Wonderful. Love it. Think it's great. But you got 3 sorcerers, so presumably those would go to the top 3. And then the top person would also get the champion with the new art by Vincent Pompetti. I guess that's how you would do it if you did one event. That's all I can think of. But honestly, I feel like this kit is more designed to be used and broken up and maybe spread it out over a couple of limited events, or maybe even, save some of it for a constructed event or something like that. Maybe make the champion part of some type of a small local tourney run. Let's see who does the best over a course of tournaments. And then whoever wins or has the most points or whatever you want to say, gets the champion foil. So I think that would be, one way to do it. You could, that's the only way. I guess that's really the best way I can think to do it, is to spread it out like that. Maybe, you could give away 1 playmat and 1 of the sorcerers at an event or something like that. Or maybe, here you go, take the 3 sorcerers, therefore a constructed event. So top 3 get a sorcerer in this constructed event. We're going to do a limited event. top 3 get a playmat, and then we're going to do some other event, and we're going to give away the champion and the last playmat for that final event, or it's tied somehow to the constructed and to the limited. And of course, you could chop it up a little bit more, have multiple constructed events, and the sorcerer is the top prize for each of those constructed events. A playmat is the top prize for each of those limited draft events or sealed events. And then that leads to the culmination of going for the champion, whether it's just points based on those or there's a final crowning event, something like that. Maybe whoever places the best, you take the top 8 players out of that series of tournaments and they play for the champion. That's a lot of work on the part of an LGS. Requires them to dedicate a lot of time. But that's the way I think maybe this kit is meant to be used, because it just doesn't feel like something that should be used as a single limited event. It feels much more like, look, here's all this cool stuff. Do something with it. Be creative. And I feel like that's what Eric's Curiosa is pushing the community to do with Sorcery. Be creative. We're not giving you a tournament structure. Create your own. We're not going to give you major events backed by Eric's Curiosa. Make your own. Here's this store kit. Make up whatever you want to do with it. I guess that's one way to approach it, and certainly that, goes with their idea that this is just a casual game. So I guess if that's the plan, great. I think that these prizes in this store kit, they all look pretty good. We've only seen part of the one mat, and then there's 3 more mats we haven't even seen, although the cards were named. So that'll be very cool. Once we all get to open Arthurian Legends to find out what these other 3 are, if they don't, show them a little early at some point before we get to Arthurian Legends. So it'll be very interesting to see what those other 3 mats are. And I'm glad they made them 2-player mats, sort of. It's typically been happening that, people either forget to bring their mat or they bring their mat and it's a 2-player mat. So that's kind of the trade-off, is that one person is going to be looking at the mat the wrong way. So, I know some people don't really like that. But anyhow, 4 2-player mats, very cool. I think it's nice. I've tried to put the 1-player mats next to each other. It looks a bit, it just doesn't really jive, especially if you get something weird like, the Geistwood next to the Death's Door. I don't know. They don't pair up very well. So, the 2-player mats, I think, are probably the way they should go. But it is unfortunate, once we get to a point where we have a large player base, or in places that have a large player base, everyone's going to want to use their 2-player mat because that's their preference. I don't know if that'll become a thing or not. But in any case, back to the draft kit, I want to call it the draft kit. Back to the store kit itself. I love that there's 8 of those draft kits in it. The composition of prizes is a little odd. And my one disappointment is that there's only 3 copies of that alternative foil sorcerer. I would have liked for them to have included some non-foil copies of that into this product so that players could get that cool piece of art even in a non-foil version like they did with the Bone Rabble in the previous kit. I feel like the previous kit was more designed for, some type of league or something like that, where everybody got a Bone Rabble as kind of a prize for playing in the league. So it's kind of weird to me that we've only got these 3 foil sorcerers in the kit. I wish there were more, whether it was maybe just a couple more foil versions to spread it out a little bit more, or, an inclusion of, if the kit's designed for 32 players, 32 non-foil copies of the sorcerer, or at least 16. You know, that's what I'm thinking. So that's kind of where I would want it to be, but they didn't do that. So we got these 3 foil alternative sorcerers with this beautiful art by Frank Frazetta, and find a store to go play, to go get them. However they're going to run their events, whatever they're going to do to pass those out, find out so that you can get one. So overall, I think this new kit, it's great in terms of it has all this new cool stuff, but the composition of the pricing is just kind of odd. But if they want us to be creative, make something up, this is the way to do it. Here it is, guys. Figure it out. Anyhow, that's it for me. Keep on contesting the realm. Talk to you all later.